Hello everyone! Today we will be tackling about the topic of learners with exceptional needs. And our objectives for today is that at the end of the chapter, we will be able to first, identify the various additional needs learners might have. Second is to differentiate the additional needs from one another. And then lastly, we have to recognize the characteristics of learners with additional needs. Okay. Firstly, we'll be tackling about the learners who are gifted and talented. And then later on, we will be differentiating the differences between gifted and talented. Okay. Traditionally, the term gifted referred only to students who is very unusually in high verbal skills, okay? Gifted learners are those with abilities in one or more academic subjects such as math or English. However, talented here is defined that those who have practical skills in areas such as sport, music, design, or creative and performing arts. Okay, now what is the difference between gifted and talented? Just like what I've mentioned earlier, gifted learners are those having outstanding abilities in one or more academic subjects such as mathematics, science, geography, history, and English. And their characteristics are they are good in reasoning, or they are having good reasoning skills, and then they are extremely curious about things, and then they have retentive memory, and also they have the ability to concentrate for long periods on subjects or interest, and many more. Meanwhile, the term talented is referred to the ones who are with exceptional abilities in practical subjects such as dance, or marunong sila sa or magagaling sila sa pagpe-perform, such as dancing or music, design, art, and physical education. The students or the individual that belong in this specification are far superior than the others or the same age. Ibig sabihin, nag-i-exceed sila sa mga area kung saan mara kung halimbawa meron silang kasabay na mga kasing edad nila. Mapapansin mo talaga na nag-i-exceed or magagaling sila sa area ng halimbawa sa music, magaling silang kumanta, or sa sayaw, magaling silang sumayaw, or madali nilang nakukuha yung mga itinuturo sa kanila. Talented students or learners can be identified by both quantitative and qualitative methods. We have here general or specific intellectual ability. First, we have specific academic aptitude, whereas the intelligence in reading, writing, math, science, social studies, and world language. Secondly, we have specific talent aptitude, the intelligence in terms of visual arts, performing arts, musical abilities, dance, psychomotor abilities, creative or productive thinking, and lastly is magaling sila sa pagiging leader, or they have the leadership abilities. To connect with our discussion earlier, we have here Gardner's multiple intelligence theory. For Sir Gardner, intelligence is the capacity to learn, use, and produce new solutions from what is learned, and it is the ability to think, reason, question, and draw conclusions. The theory of multiple intelligence by Howard Gardner suggests that the learning process should be tailored to an individual's strengths in their multiple intelligence. By recognizing and developing these intelligences, individuals can enhance their ability to learn and understand information. In other words, this theory refers to a theory describing the different ways students learn and acquire information. This multiple intelligence range from the use of words, numbers, pictures, and music. The essence of Gardner's multiple intelligence is that each person has 8 types of intelligence. It is the naturalist, musical, bodily kinesthetic, spatial, linguistic, intrapersonal, interpersonal, and logical mathematical. To explain the function of naturalist, it is the understanding living things and reading nature. Secondly is the musical. It is discerning sounds, their pitch, tone, rhythm, and timbre. And then bodily kinesthetic explains coordinating your mind with your body. Logical mathematical, quantifying things, thinking hypotheses, and proving them. Interpersonal, sensing people's feelings and motives. Intrapersonal, understanding yourself, what you feel, and what you want. Linguistic, finding the words to express what you mean. And then lastly, the spatial, visualizing the world in 3D. Learners with visual impairments. Visual impairment is any visual condition or visual problems that impacts an individual's ability to successfully complete the activities of everyday life. Anyone from infant up to their youth who has visual impairments has impact their ability to learn. Students with visual impairments include those with low vision and those who are blind. And for your information, students who are totally blind may use brailles to read. Students with low vision tend to read printed handouts or may use optical devices or may also read brailles just like the blind ones used. And as teachers, if we encounter students who have visual impairments, we should know that some of them rely on us visually teaching. So we better think the best way to deliver learnings for them to catch up to, just like the non-visually impaired students. Learners with hearing impairment. Hearing impairment is a disability category is similar to category of deafness, but it is not the same. From the word only similar, a person is said hearing loss if they are not able to hear as well as someone with normal hearing. Impairment in hearing, whether permanent or fluctuating, that adversely affects a child's educational performance. Thus, knowing the definition of deafness is necessary to understand what sort of disabilities is considered hearing impairments. A hearing loss above 90 decibels is generally considered deafness, which means that a hearing loss below 19 decibels is classified as hearing impairment. Hearing impairment defined as deaf or hard of hearing, and those whose hearing organs are not functioning and may or may not need hearing aid. The causes of hearing impairment are genetic disorders, injuries to the ear or head, complications during pregnancy or birth, infections or illnesses, medications, loud noise, or lastly, the blockages in the ear. Accommodations or how to accommodate those who have hearing impairments. Number 1, no takers to allow for full attention to speaker or interpreter. Number 2, use of an interpreter if appropriate. Use of real-time reporting if appropriate. Use of an application system if appropriate. Front row seating to maximize the intake of visual cues. Appropriate lighting even during the use of visual aids so the faculty member or interpreter can be seen at all times. Exams will be extended time if a documented accommodation. And here are some instructional strategies how to accommodate those who have hearing impairments. Number 1, deliver lectures slowly and clearly. Be sure your mouth is not covered by your hand or book. Repeat words if necessary. Face the class and not the chalkboard. Avoid standing behind a student with a hearing impairment or walking back and forth in front of the class. Write important material on the chalkboard or overhead transparency. Hand out typed or printed notes. Use closed captioned videos or movies. If they are not used, provide a written explanation of either the videotape, movie, use an interpreter, or provide a demonstration. Realize that a beard or mustache may hinder the comprehension of someone who reads lips. Give assignment in written form. Repeat classmates' comments and questions. Give the students adequate time to respond to questions to allow the students with hearing impairment to participate in the class. Check privately with the student to determine whether he or she feels comfortable speaking in class. And lastly, be patient and take the time to communicate effectively. Next topic, learners with difficulty communicating. Communication is very important in everyday life. Teachers and students communicate their thoughts, ideas with one another when discussing the lessons, providing answers to questions, expressing one's thinking and ideas and feeling about the topics, or sharing personal experiences. Communication isn't about talking but also about listening. We can tell that a child is having communication problems when it is difficult for a student to follow directions or instructions, difficult to attend a conversation, hard in pronouncing words, perceiving what was said, expressing oneself, or being understood because of a stutter or a hoarse voice. Communication, speech, and language disorders refers to the problems in communication and related areas such as oral, motor function. These delays and disorders range from simple sound substitutions to the inability to understand or use language or use the oral motor mechanism for functional speech and feeding. In general, speech and language make communication possible. The last topic that I'm gonna discuss with you is about the differences between speech, language, and communication. Speech is about generally refers to the action of producing or the act of speaking. For example, it is the act of speaking in front of the many audience. For example, the public speaking, the SONA or the State of the Nation address, or any speech that acquires many audience. The second one is about the language. It is referred to the ability to communicate through speech by delivering meaningful message. And the last is about the communication. It is the broadest category of them all. Communication includes spoken language but also includes many other nonverbal cues which are essential for interacting and communicating with others.
Several characters of student with language disorder. Primary language disorder. Problem when one in service language multiple disorder using the vertical phrases full and the simple adult spend from the beyond and normal period of using these phrases. Multiple disorder. Confusion of using of the defined multiple behind the normal age to do so. Semantic disorder, difficult, infallible, and ratings work and win in the states of the long meanings and figure language. Chromatic disorder, seven and default, fitting in close society with difficult and language use. Secondary language disorder, generally included by cognitive ability or by underlying disorder. Learn with difficult and moving walking. Mobility improvements refer to the ability and the person to use one more his here, expands by lack and stride to walk on groups of live objects and use the wheelchair and characters and walking many utilities to the aid in mobility. Physical disability is condition that strive in limits one more and basic physical activities like this elimination and hiding person from the performed task on detailed living. Ability in province and describes any difficult which the limit function of movement any limits of fine motor ability. Describe pacing, CP affects and large and group and student with others impairment and ability school and are when this in interest to the brain before, during, and the brain and the result in the poor motor, coordination and user motor matter. Spinal muscular activity is describes that affect the spinal cording in Minnesota and the presentation of the motor request kills in the service from the mouth. When it's cracked is similar in the muscular directly. Multiplies sensing is the progress disorder. When the normal impact to the muscular in the short called by the scare. Let's your include and made problem many cause, but the attack concern and the person and the development of multitude of the problems. Learning with difficult and remember and function. The station characterization of the foundability and health of the world. Head Organization 2001. Prevent and defend specific and metal and foundation and food causing. Learning ability is the term used to describe with the learning and the thinking and difficult that can affect the way in the brain taking in the use the storing the abstract out information. Specific learning ability. Explain conditions spelling records the word in the making contains between letter and sounds. It means not disike. Describing writing is the challenge in student many have storing the drawing omits the word and striking of truth and the paper. Discoverability and difficulty with the numbers, fraction and math ability making a challenge itself is can be making of the discussion. Addition, defense and conversion disorder. ADHD is the one that most comforting education and disorder the childhood. It is used to the first independence in childhood. Although often lasted although hold in community ADHD system included. Attention lacks in function, poor time management, work and pride control is in emotional, hyper-focus, repetitive, expansion in disability seizure. What are the three types of ADHD? Primitive and preventive ADHD, people with the hyper ADHD and facing needs for the constant movement, including type ADHD, people interacting in ADHD making careless and mistaken because they have the default staring, attention and following, distance interaction and organizing task and activity. Component type ADHD. People with competitive type of ADHD, the concept of more symptoms of attention and sex of more symptoms of hyperactive and impulsive. The changing face and ADHD. Childhood difficulty and can still always on go claim on use wrong and including times. Physical and privity doing the thing that lost and the last include problem waiting one turn. Intention problems buying intense and class of uncompletion school work. Adulthood, this can stay focused on one thing you find important. Verbal and saying the word thinking is speaking out of turn in trading. Understandly, and the intention difficulty in constant at work problem, finishing task. How ADHD affect the brain. Infrastics increasing the organization and cognitive flexibility and self-control and maintaining attention. Defense activity STEM. Major early system among the many patterns and the learns the brain that is a responsible yourself and contextual and difficult into the reference using intelligence the information of hyperstability. Physiognomy and the helps to the conversation. With the brain respond for the motor inclines infiniting competent movement. Libre system responds for the reading on the emotional artifact into the region emotional. It is that the region maintenance result in the friction and information or the emotional variability.